Everyone, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply honored to stand before you as the speaker for this admired public lecture cordially organized by the Sri Lanka Natural History Society. My heartfelt gratitude extend to Dr. Malik Fernando for extending this invitation to me. Today, I am privileged to shed light on a topic often overlooked yet of immense importance: seagrasses, a hidden asset. Seagrasses are named as the oldest flowering plants. It's the same as the plant you are seeing on the terrestrial, but they are living on the saline water. They are mostly living on the shallow coastline water. The terminology of the seagrasses is one word, not a two words, and the different local names are there. In Sri Lanka, it's called as a muhudutruna. You can see that the different names they used to name the seagrasses, and Tamil it's called as a vatala. So algae or seaweed, left-hand side picture, and they differ from the seagrasses in right-hand side picture in several ways. Algae on the seafloor have a hold fast and the transport nutrition through the body by the diffusions, while the seagrasses are flowering vasculary plants with the roots and the internal transport system. So therefore, those are two different plants. So you can see that the flowers in on seagrasses. So it's a very beautiful flowers. So that I can see on the seafloor. So those can be found mostly along the coastline from the tropic to the Arctic Circle, covering an estimated global area of 300,000 to 600,000 square kilometer. Those can be found in 159 countries on 6 continental, making them of the most widespread coastal habitat on Earth. In the green dot indicated the seagrasses presence, and so you can see that all over the globe, so there are green dots. It means that widespread coastal habitat. If you look at the distribution and the diversity, there are 72 species in the worldwide, especially diversity concentrated toward the equator. So in the seagrasses, actually, with regards to the distribution and diversity, seagrasses are categorized, distribution categorized for the bioregion. There are 6 bioregions were there, and the VIA belongs to the Indo-Pacific bioregion. And the distribution of the seagrasses and the zonations are depend on the many factors like the salinity, water level, and the light availability. Seagrasses are ecological and economically important due to the service and the function they perform. Researchers estimated that the value of the ecosystem services of the seagrasses annually 34,000 USD per hectare. I'm going to explain a few selected important factors about the seagrasses. Seagrasses can act as a sediment stabilizer. Seagrasses efficiently hold the sediment in place and the preventing resuspension and movement of the sediment deposit on the seafloor. Therefore, so ultimately it preserves the seafloor. It acts as a process nutritions. Seagrasses are supposed to improve the water quality by filtering, cycling, and storing nutrition and the pollutions. So therefore, ultimately, it maintains the nutritions on the sea. So they ultimately maintain the water quality. They naturally filters the water, including excess nutrient and suspended particles. Therefore, it ultimately enhance the water quality. So they can disperse the energy too. So it helped to reduce the wave energy by the 40% and ultimately protect the coastline. So they are shaking, their leaves are shaking along with the currents, and they disperse the kinetic energy that are coming through the uh, waves, and it ultimately protect the coastline. It provides the critical food source for many species. As an example, dugongs and menti, which are considered as a highly threatened species in Sri Lanka, also up to Kalpitia to Gulf of Mena area. So there are some rare sightings actually were there. Especially they are considered as the most threatened species. So they are mainly dependent on the seagrasses, and adult dugong consume 40 kilogram of seagrass per day. It means that the healthy seagrass is required for survival of dugong and mantis. And in addition to that, the green turtle is taking at least 2 kilograms of seagrasses per day. So seagrasses are important food source for many other species. So further, seagrasses provide a critical habitat for many species. The best example is seagrasses are used to be a habitat for the seahorse to hold fast, and a nursery habitat for over 1/5 of the 25th largest fisheries in the world. Seahorse has a prehensile tail, and it is easy to hold fast on the seagrass blades. So this is very interesting facts. Seagrass is 35 times more efficient at the carbon storing than the tropical rainforest. It is important as a nature-based climate solution, specifically for the mitigation and adaptation, as we are aware that especially seagrasses are considered as one of the blue carbon habitat. Blue carbon that are actually captured by the captured and stored by the mangrove forest, salt marsh, and the seagrasses. And the seagrasses are among the best. So in this map shows the global seagrass blue carbon stock, and you can see that the different color indicated the respective carbon deposits by the three different blue carbon habitat, and blue color indicated the carbon deposits by the seagrasses, and you can see that the most of the deposits are by the seagrasses. Due to this importance, because I actually only name few importance. So due to these, so many importance are there. So due to these importance, seagrasses are ranked as the third most valuable ecosystem in the world, following to the tropical rainforest, mangrove, or the coral reef. So in addition to the ecosystem services and production, seagrasses are used by the various communities, such as, so they used to make the cookies, and so they actually making a classic autumnal resins cookings with the inhaler seed flour. So they use inhaler seeds flours. Inhaler seed flour is a little bit bigger, and so they used to make a flour. And in addition to that, some area they used to make a pickle, especially syringodium. So I can explain the syringodium. What's the appearance of the syringodium? It's a cylindrical species, and it can be used to make a pickle. Seagrasses are used to extract some of the medicines such as hormones. Seagrass has a high silicon content, and it helps to make a different type of handicraft, which could help to enhance the livelihood activities in the world. So unfortunately, seagrasses are subject to many threats. The area covered by the meadow are declined rapidly in the last 2 decades, with the many resultant environmental impact threats, with the highest impact on the seagrasses, including agriculture and industrial runoff, coastal development and climate change, unregulated fishing activity, anchoring boats and trampling by the humans, and the dredging to create the boat channel also pose a major threats. So those are the important impact of the seagrasses. So you can see that the illegal fishing, worsening of the water quality, coastal development, mechanical damages, aquaculture, competition and diseases, climate change. So those are contributed for extinction of the seagrasses. So this was I extracted from the 2011 red list, and now the red list being updated and currently being processing. But the endangered, so there are 3 species categorized as endangered, and the 7 species considered as globally vulnerable, and the 5 species considered as nearly threatened, and all species indicated decrease in trend. So you can see that this one, so the ecosystems and the loss, as well as the value of the lost, and the seagrass are the top most lost habitat, coastal habitat, as well as it has a higher value, lost value. And Seagrass has shown that the estimated loss of 110 square kilometers since 1980 and the loss of 29 of the seagrasses that were believed to have and exist in the beginning of the 20th century. This is equivalent to the football field of seagrasses lost every 30 minutes. It means that in each 30 minutes, so equal to the football field of seagrasses being lost. It is clear that, so therefore it is clear that the seagrasses are still ugly duckling of the conservation field. So therefore, giant magazines that's called the Nature and Science, they give their cover page to the seagrass because of its importance as well as the threatened. So planning to date, here I'm going to show some of the latest findings which tell us more secrets about there. This news was the discovery of the world's largest plant and the oldest colony of the world, and it indicated as a seagrasses living around 4,500 years. Scientists placed device on the mantis shark species, marine shark species, who helped to map the up to 92,000 square kilometers of the seagrasses in Bahamas. A team of scientists now reports that the seagrasses release a large number of sucrose, largely in the form of sucrose, into the soil. Worldwide, more than 1 million tons of sucrose, enough to 32 billion cans of sucrose. So how it's impressive. So now I actually, I'll already discuss about the what are the seagrasses and global context importance as well as global threats. And then I will move to the Sri Lankan context. Exploration of in exploration into seagrasses through the herbarium sheet collection in Sri Lanka makes the early roots of the scientific inquiry. The inception of this investigation dated to the 18th century with a collection of species from the Puttanam Lagoon, which is called as the Thalassia hemperigi. This is the species. It was collected in 1826, and it was now in the Peradeniya National Herbarium, and it is actually considered as serving as a pivotal moment of this endeavor. And this was a specimen now in the Kew Museum, Kew Herbarium. So species is actually Enhalus acrodius. This was actually collected under Ceylon Flora project, and this was collected in 1867. So after initial herbarium collections, so in after the 165 years of the initial herbarium collection in 1991, in the under the UNESCO Man and Biosphere Committee of the Sri Lanka, in the National Science Foundation, they actually came up with the taxonomic key on the seagrasses. At that time, they were reported 15 of the seagrasses, but now most of the species are not considered as seagrasses, but it's a very good taxonomic key. According to the published literature, so we have now the 15 seagrass species are there. So as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned about the in seagrasses, there are bioregions were there. So we belongs to Indo-Pacific bioregion, and it represents the 65% of the Indo-Pacific total bioregional seagrass. It means that we have a very high diversity of the seagrasses when we compare with the global. So those are the species, and this is the national conservation status as well as this is a global conservation status. And so red color indicated some of the species. So those are conspecific species, need to be a little bit clarified further, but those are considered still as a seagrasses. And the green color one recently recorded in Sri Lanka. And if you look at the national conservation status, Halophila beccari considered as a critically endangered species, and most of the species are accounted as a decreasing trend. So these are actually, so if you are a snorkel or if you are diving on the seagrasses, this is the appearance. And this one is an Enhalus accordius. This is a very large species. I mentioned about this can actually produce the seeds, and it used to produce some kind of flower, and so it's a very large species, and so the leaves can go up to 2 meters. And so if you look at the distribution in Sri Lanka, it is normally recorded from the Puttam Lagoon to the up to Jaffna Peninsula. And this is the critically endangered species Halopila beccari, which is called as a tiger seagrasses. Now it's only recorded in Nigambo Lagoon as well as the Valachina Lagoon, based on the available literature. And these other species like Halopila species, it's rounded leaf shapes. It has a rounded leaf shapes like what you're seeing on the ground. Similar plants are there, like it's called Sinhala called as Undupialia. So those are other species like the Thalassia hemparici, as well as the Cymodocea rotundata and Cymodocea cerulata. In Cymodocea cerulata, the taxonomy is already named, taxonomic name has already been changed. It called as the Oceania cerulata. And the Halodiolunios and Halopila pinipolia, those are very small ribbon-like seagrasses. And so those are mostly found on the lagoon mouth and the lagoon environment. And this is Rupia maritima, which is mostly found on the hypersaline conditions. And the Syringodium saturning, as I mentioned earlier, so this can use to make a pickle. And this is a cylindrical type of species. And so Halopila beccari, so the appearance of the Halopila beccari, it looks like a small crepe on the seafloor, and it has a very tiny leaves. And so actually I took this from the Valachina Lagoon. If you look at the seagrass distribution in the Sri Lanka, seagrasses are seagrass in Sri Lanka mostly inhabited in the calm waters and the sandy or clay or clay beds, especially on the Gulf of Mena and some of the lagoons like the Puttalama, Negambashwari, Mullatiu, and some of the bays also. So mostly distribution is concentrated on the area of the shallow, excluding area where there are no strong wave currents. So most records were most actually a high extents actually record from the Puttama Lagoon to Jaffna Peninsula area towards the Gulf of Mena area. So now I move to the some of the efforts taken to actually conservation of the seagrasses in Sri Lanka. So 10 countries, including Sri Lanka, have included seagrass in their national determined contribution. The national determined contribution is the document, the commitment that need to be submitted under the Paris Agreement. Sri Lanka also submitted several update versions, and this Sri Lanka was actually considered seagrass in the initial national determined contributions. In addition to that, this is one of the milestone by the Sri Lanka targeting for the seagrass conservation in the world. Sri Lanka actually support with the other 23 countries declare the World Seagrass Day as a March 1st. With the support of several stakeholders like the World Seagrass Association and the other stakeholders, this can ultimately help to give additional recognitions to seagrasses, because seagrasses are considered as a overlooked habitat, and so they are not popular, because I will explain later what's the problem. So it's not a popular among the most of the communities rather than the mangroves and coral reef and other habitats. So due to various reasons. So therefore, this initiation is most indeed initiation for the to get additional recognitions, and ultimately it can help to enhance the knowledge base among all the communities. and the 26 target within the 10 sustainable development goal and the conservation biology strategic planning for biodiversity, as well as the 20 achieve targets and the Ramsar Convention on the wetland have incorporated seagrass conservation as a direct and indirect implementation actions. So far, I explained about the seagrass, its important threats. Now I'm going to provide how it can be conserved as an initial step. Research and monitoring are a key to establish a baseline to collect the relevant information to generate the conservation planning. Because currently, so science says decision making are the most strong decision making process. So therefore, we should need to have a baseline information for any development purposes or any kind of further assessment. So therefore, research and development are the key priority. Second one, as I mentioned earlier, awareness is another element. Yes. So it is important to educate all the horizon of the community, like the fishing community, school children, to policymakers, because if you consider about the awareness level with regard to the coastal habitat, seagrasses are less. So therefore, we should need to be educated, all the people, especially children's, because this is more important habitat. So therefore, it is awareness is much important. So most of the solid and the liquid waste are coming from the inland sources. Therefore, it is required to reduce the land-based pollution by implementing sustainable consumption and production practices, and ultimately, it can reduce the waste come to the seagrass beds. So implementation of successful oriented restoration is another option to restore the degraded seagrass habitat. However, it requires a considerable cost, because we need to deal with the most of the condition in the ocean. So especially current and so many things need to be considered. So therefore, so many if you look at the scientific oriented restoration, it amalgamated with the following monitoring activities too. So therefore, cost is a little bit higher than the traditional transport, some other normal restoration technique. But this will provide the countries with the opportunity to achieve the commitment to be made the upcoming United Nations decades on ecosystem restoration. Unfortunately, only 26% of the world recorded seagrass meadows fallen within the marine protected area, compared with the 40% of the coral reef and the 40%, 3% of mangroves. Therefore, declaration and management of protected area is a critical for conservation of the seagrasses. The another best example is a proposed management mechanism is community-driven management, such as the declaration of the environment sensitive area. It means that it can allow to human interface as well as the natural interface too. So therefore, declaration is of environment sensitive area much indeed. So managing coastal ecosystem is challenging, especially developing countries such as Sri Lanka, where it's important to consider the cost benefit analysis between the direct and indirect economic benefit of the coastal development and management. As a country with the critical seagrass habitat with a higher depend of coastal resources, Sri Lanka need to take a strong step towards the seagrass and the marine conservation. And the country has initiation of the World Seagrass Day Declaration. I hope it would be a starting journey where the Sri Lanka lead the global efforts to conserving and sustainably managing of the seagrasses around the world. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much.